Yeah, and so really the CEO method, again, cut costs, earn more, and optimize spending really is part of our second principle here at BetterWealth of efficiency. In all areas, it's bringing more efficiency to your life, which can bring a lot of positives.
This is BetterWealth with Caleb Gwilliam. Welcome to another episode of the BetterWealth podcast, and today's BetterWealth Breakdown, we're going to be talking about concepts, ideas, and quotes from around the world to help you live a more intentional life. And in today's topic, we're going to talk about the CEO method that Ramit Sethi talks a lot about, and we're going to kind of break it down, explain it. And just in full disclosure, Ramit is an American author and really a thought leader as it relates to finance and wealth. He's written a lot of books. Most well-known book is I'll Teach You to Be Rich. And I will say this, he's definitely, I like a lot of what he says. He's pretty hard on life insurance, and the same thing goes for like Dave Ramsey, Susie Orman. Like in context, I think a lot of what they're saying is true, and for the people that they're teaching, I think the advice is really good. I'm a fan of the CEO method, which you can delve into. And overall, I'm a big fan of Ramit and would love to have him on the show. And so we're going to break down what he talks about here. But I just want to give a context if you did not know who Ramit is.
He doesn't like life insurance yet, but he will.
Just wait.
So the CEO method is actually pretty simple. C is cut costs, E is earn more, and O is optimize spending. So cut costs, what Ramit talks about is picking 2 to 3 discretionary areas to cut back those expenses or those costs. For me personally, that would be something like I don't necessarily need to go skiing.
Right.
Some people have expensive hobbies,
yeah.
And it's like, especially in a time like right now with COVID, I mean, that's probably going to happen anyways. So that's an opportunity. But it's really looking at where are the high ticket things that aren't necessary and looking at potentially cutting those things.
I went over to a friend's house, and she was telling me like they had a beautiful house and it was good to see them. And they both had great jobs. And we were talking at dinner, and it just came up like, yeah, we have like no money that we can save because kids are expensive. And then I broke down, okay, so then I was thinking, okay, what are they spending all their money on? Well, the oldest, their oldest child is in volleyball and other club leagues. The youngest child that they have started to pick up horse riding, which you know a thing or two.
Yeah.
It's not the cheapest hobby or activity that you can do. It just kind of made me laugh because there are a lot of things that are expensive that do add up. And so instead of maybe like getting super anal about everything, which some people are, which more power to you, taking that 1, 2, or 3 big things and really cutting that out may make a huge difference, especially if you're having a hard time saving money.
Yeah, I always say horses are just expensive dogs, and horse people are interesting. We know quite a few of them, and but it goes back to it. It's what are you willing to do? What are you willing to cut back on? And I think especially now that's something that's easier for people, and they're finally having that realization that I actually don't need to be doing that. So,
and I'll just add this: watch the Minimalists, which as I talk, I would love to get them on the show. I'll make a note for that. Anyways. They have a whole documentary on why you don't need a lot of stuff to make you happy, and it's really interesting. Like I watch that, I'm like, I want higher quality, fewer things, and to really invest in relationships and people and just like the bigger mission of life rather than just objects and stuff. And so that's a great documentary. You should check it out. And like I said, I think it would be a great conversation to have.
Well, and that's a good segue into earn more is like actually pouring into the things that you're good at, or the people around you, or having better people around you. There's so many different ways to earn more money, especially in 2020 with the internet. I mean, my goodness, there's things all over the place saying, side hustle this, make online income that. E-commerce is really big right now. My personal favorite is to take a step back and be like, okay, how in your current career, job, whatever it may be, what could you do to increase that income? And something that we talk about quite frequently is like, okay, what if you forewent your retirement savings and instead went and got a certification or got a master's degree or got whatever and increased your income by 15,000, 25,000, maybe double it. I don't know. It depends on the industry, but it goes back to that idea of it's a different mindset that people don't think about. Is okay, if you instead of maxing out your 401k, let's just say it's $20,000 round number, and you went and spent that money on a master's degree, do you think that would be worthwhile to make 20,000 more per year?
Earning more is just very much like when I say you are your greatest asset. Invest in the things that are going to help you get the results that you want. And it's so true. It's like, yeah, you could put your money in a 401k and let's just say it grows 8% a year. Debatable, okay? But let's just say, are you telling me that you can't invest in yourself and get a greater rate of return? Even if you don't have, aspirations to be an entrepreneur or to be a high-end investor, like you can still think about little areas in your life that can really move the needle. A book that I would recommend in this category is Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. There's a lot of things that he writes about like in the funnels, and you don't have to feel like you have to be an internet marketer, but his concept in the book is everyone is experts at something. There's so many examples. Like you could be a homeschool mom and create value in that could help other families, and money follows value. And it's just really interesting. And so there's experts all across the country, all across the world. And if you understand how to invest in that, you might be able to double, triple your income, or even make a $10,000, $15,000 difference. And that could make a big, big difference to your bottom line and what we teach at BetterWealth.
Totally. And that idea of value too is something that I think people highly undervalue is this idea of time versus value. Yeah. And the typical or the traditional way of thinking is, well, I'm giving you my time, therefore it's worth X. But I like to say is like, okay, if you gave me 2 hours or 20 hours, but you gave me more value in the 2 hours instead of 20 hours, the 2 hours is more valuable to me. So it goes back to just simply make yourself more valuable. Yep. And you will be able to make more money, and you will be able to earn more. And
and there's a whole episode that I could do on this, but also don't get caught in the rat race of making the extra $1 an hour at a job. Like literally, and it's just like, Caleb, you just told me I could make a little bit extra money. Take a step back and say, what area in my life could I create the most value? And you might be saying yes to something, but you're just going to constantly be in the rat race of life. You might have to say no or stay where you're at so you can build a foundation. Perfect example, me at the bank. Until I started actually making real money, I made $8 an hour. And I didn't complain. I turned down a $14 job at State Farm to stay at the bank. Why? Because I could see farther than just next week's paycheck.
Yeah, and I think that too is as simple as simply ask. I think most people are afraid to ask. When I was working at the university as a student, I was making $8.10 an hour. And I asked for a raise, and I'll never forget this, I got a nickel. I got a nickel raise, $8.15. I was really raking in the dough. And it was actually kind of insulting. I was like, wait a minute, I'd rather just be where I was at than get the 5-cent raise. But it proves that by simply asking, it goes back to if you didn't ask, you wouldn't know. And so there's so many different opportunities right now to earn.
Well, we just said, we're going to encourage everyone on our team to watch this. Everybody on our team is going to be like, okay, I've heard that I need to ask for a raise.
You can ask. There's nothing wrong with asking.
Yeah, I love it. I do agree. I would do 100% agree with that.
So O is optimize spending. And this one, especially now with COVID, is there's a lot of opportunity here. And obvious areas are like a cable bill, which is insanely expensive actually. And it's quite alarming when you watch cable when you haven't for a long time. Credit cards, negotiating current interest rates. There's so many people with credit card debt right now. And there's a lot of different opportunities for that. Cell phone bill, student loans, a lot of those are being pushed out with the interest rates right now. You don't have to pay on those. And then things like car insurance, different services that you do. For us, for example, moving out to a little bit further outside of Denver, we were able to negotiate a lower rate on our car insurance because we're no longer in the heart of Denver. Right. And so it's cheaper. And it goes back to one of those things of, if I wouldn't have said something, nothing would have happened. And my parents have been talking to me about this right now. Of they've had the same insurances for a very long time, and you just kind of become comfortable of, well, the bill's coming and I pay it, and you don't want to go ask and say, I think this is getting kind of outrageous because everything with inflation is getting more expensive every single year. And it goes back to just like earn income or earn more. You can a lot of times get things cheaper just by simply asking. And the ninja trick is these companies don't want to lose the revenue.
Yep.
And we have a service that we use for building online memberships that we just no longer used it because we consolidated services. And so I went to go cancel it, and they said, we'll give you a free month. And I was like, okay, I'll take a free month. I'm not going to use it, but I'll take a free month. And that's the cheapskate in me. And so I got that free month, and then I went to go cancel it again. They're like, hold on, we'll give you 2 free months.
Yep.
And so it's just a perfect example of go ask, renegotiate. There's entire divisions of these companies that are just trying to retain you.
Yeah. And this is, we would love to hear from you. I really want to find somebody who really understands credit cards and negotiating credit card interest, because if you're finding yourself having large credit card balances, there are ways that you can call the company. There are just areas, if you're willing to get a little bit uncomfortable, because it's uncomfortable. Like, calling somebody is uncomfortable. But if you can get around that, like, you could save some serious money. And again, on one hand, you could cut out a latte, which, by the way, like, that could be, you could have a latte issue, and maybe that's what you need to stop. Or you could take a step back and say, this is a big one. I'm paying down my house in 15 years, and now I could renegotiate, get a lower interest rate at 30-year mortgage, and invest the difference. Bam. That could be hundreds of thousands of dollars that I just saved you by one mind shift. Could make you quite a bit of money and give you back more control. So it's just this idea of, like, what can you optimize in your life?
Yeah, and so really the CEO method, again, cut costs, earn more, and optimize spending, really is part of our second principle here at BetterWealth of efficiency. In all areas, it's bringing more efficiency to your life, which can bring a lot of positives.
100%. We appreciate you listening to this, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback, and we love it. It's really the oxygen that keeps us going. And so we would love if you could share this with someone that you love, and we're making this short so that they can listen to it and that they can maybe take one idea and better their life. Make sure to go live a more intentional life. Thank you so much for listening to the BetterWealth podcast. It would mean the world to me if you could hit subscribe, leave a review, and share this with the people that you know and love.